welcome to the Business Exchange on Rolling Out, where visionaries meet opportunity. I'm your host, Vera, and joining me today is the brilliant Mara Morris. Hi, Mara.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
That's PG.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a real estate broker here in Chicago, Illinois, and I'm also the executive assistant at the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, so with your expertise, can you tell us what are the most important financial steps first-time home buyers should take before beginning their search, and how do these differ from preparing to purchase investment properties?
Okay, gotcha. Clients should fully understand and actively review their budget and credit before thinking about purchasing a home. Clients who understand their finances are a lot more likely to have a smoother transition into home ownership. And one of the things that they also have to consider is having cash on hand. Even just the process of purchasing a home, before you get to the closing table, there's money that's going to need to be spent for earnest money, inspections, closing, down payment, all those type of things. So you have to make sure that you have cash on hand. In addition to that, we can get started working with a lender, and if necessary, we can get you to the correct tax and credit professionals. But knowing your numbers as is probably going to be the most important step before you reach out to a real estate agent. I can't help you understand your finances any better than you yourself can understand them. And this process is going to differ slightly when you're working with investors, as most investors already they know their numbers backwards and forwards, right? They likely
Yeah.
already have a preferred lender who they're besties with. They already have their cash sitting in the bank account, and they sometimes switch out real estate agents a lot. So that's how that process is different. A new buyer is definitely going to need to know those numbers, and experienced investor, they know them well. But for my clients, I don't know that I always follow that advice from my clients. I say, even if you don't have a dollar, even if you don't know anything, you can give me a call, right? Because that seed that's growing in your head needs to be watered. And not everybody knows all the appropriate resources and folks who to call to get them to their end goal. So if you call me, and even if you don't know your numbers, right? I've got accountants I can refer you to. I've got tax repair specialists, I've got credit repair specialists, and we can talk to lenders and get you to where you need to be. So even if you're not able to purchase anytime soon, if I can get my hands on you, we can start working with you, even if your goal of home ownership might not be today, even if it's, maybe a year or two from now. So yeah.
Definitely calling you. So
Please.
we all know how it is in today's markets. So what strategies have proven most successful for your first-time home buyers to compete with investors and other buyers?
You know what? That is actually a great question. I do have a few good tips and tricks on making sure that my home buyers offers get accepted, especially in markets where we have to navigate bidding wars. Like, supply is low and demand is high. So making sure your client's
Yeah.
offer gets accepted is critical. One of the things that I do is, number one, I educate my buyers. An educated buyer is going to be an easy buyer. I make sure before we go out in the field, you know what it is that you're looking for, right? You know the amount of beds, baths, whether you need a garage, whether you need space to entertain. You're going to know all of that long before we walk into a house. And I'm going to teach you what quality is. So when you see it, you can make a fairly quick decision on saying, yes, this is the one. No, it's not. Yes, I want to make an offer. No, I don't. So that's probably the first one, making sure that my client is informed. And then the second one is going to be making sure that I've got reputable and professional team of lenders and attorneys. That's going to play into when I write that offer, right? Knowing that I've got folks that can close me on that offer. calling and building, this is a cheat code that most agents don't know. Calling and building a rapport with that other agent, getting to know them, the
Mm,
client and the situation has always been able to give me an edge. I've always been able to
mm,
call an agent and say, hey, my name's Mara, give them my agent number. My client wants to view your property at XYZ, blah, blah, blah. Can you tell me more about it? Okay, why is your client looking to sell? Oh, okay. And sometimes, like, us as agents are so stressed, I typically start the call off with, like, how's your day? And not just looking for it's good. No, 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 no. You're in real estate, honey. How is your day? I'm pretty sure you're stressed, right? And just allowing, and sometimes just allowing that other person to vent. And it's just like now they want to listen to what you're talking about, right?
yeah,
And then,
that's smart.
yeah, right? Like kill them with kindness. And then actually being able to write an offer. Keep in mind, I just spoke with the agent, and so I got some inside information not everybody knows, because in the wonderful world of texting, nobody wants to pick up the phone. So I called the agent, I got
Mm,
additional information. Now, when I'm writing up that offer, it's not always about cash, right? Because my clients
yeah.
typically don't always have the highest offer, but I know how to make sure to get those terms just right based off listening to what you told me. And now I can prepare an offer that is actually going to stand on its own. And that's also where those reputable industry professionals come in. When I write my offer, the terms and conditions are going to be one thing that stand out. Another thing is going to be, okay, they see my preferred lender and my preferred attorney on the deal, and they're going to say, oh yeah, I know that that person can close a deal. All of that, all of those things together help build out a well-rounded offer, and it's going to be a lot more likely that my client's offer is going to be accepted, right? In
Mhm.
addition to that, sometimes just plain old being kind gets you so far. Gets you so far. I remember I had this offer accepted because a brand new agent put a house on the market, right? And here in
Mhm.
Chicago, we had an ice storm. Now, as agents, we are so used to lock boxes freezing up on us. They do it. I mean, like we're in
Yeah.
Chicago, everything freezes up. So I keep a little mini blowtorch in the car. There's this new agent, her house is on the market. There are like five of us with our clients waiting to see the property. And the new agent is like, oh, I don't know how to get in my lockbox. And, she was just kind of all over the place. So I was
Mhm.
like, hold on, I've got a little torch in my car. So I bring my little torch. We get the lockbox open, right? Now she's happy because we can show her property. So that's one way
Yeah.
to show her with kindness. I already knew she was going to look at my offer after that. And then first walk into the house, there is, and I don't even know who decided this, but there was all white carpet. And so then I go
Mm,
back to my trunk and I buy this, and I have this huge stack of like shoe covers, and I walked at
mhm.
every single person that wanted to see the house, even though it wasn't my listing. I gave everybody a set of shoe covers. My offer was not the highest, and she still accepted my offer just off the sheer fact that I was prepared, I was kind, and she knew, just judging by the sheer adaptability of it all and resourcefulness of it
Yeah.
all, this is a person I want to be on a deal with. This is somebody that could get it done. So, yeah, that.
Yeah. It's crazy using white carpets on the house you're showing. That's crazy.
The whitest carpet,
Oh.
right?
Okay. So what key metrics do you prioritize when helping clients evaluate multifamily properties? And how do these investments differ from single family homes?
Oh, there are quite a few different metrics that we use to prioritize evaluating properties, multifamily properties specifically. There's so many, but the top ones are going to be your net operating income. That is your property's annual income after you deduct all operating expenses. So it's going to provide you a
Mhm.
clear picture of your profitability before debt, right? You need to know the cap rate. That's going to be the potential return on investment based off your property's net operating income and the purchase price. And then you're going to need to know your gross rent multiplier. That is a metric that's used to assess the property's value by comparing the purchase price to its gross rental income. Now, all of those things are it's going to differ from a single family home, because if you're buying a single family home, you're typically going to be living in it. Multi-family properties are going to be looked at as a producing asset, right? Versus an asset that's going to
Mhm.
be lived in by a family. So I don't know that we
Yeah.
would necessarily compare those two, because net operating income, cap rates, rent multipliers, those things don't typically show up in single family homes unless someone is buying a single family home to rent out. So, just
Oh, okay.
yeah. Mhm.
All right. So, what are three most essential items clients should prepare before working with you as their agent?
Three essential items that clients should prepare for before working with me. I always encourage clients to do the research on their local market, right? And know the
Mm-hmm.
area. Go by the area. Get familiar with the area. One of the things that I like to tell first-time home buyers, as well as investors that all think they know what they're doing, right? I tell everybody this: if
Yeah.
you are looking to purchase a property, take at least 2 or 3 days and run all of your errands in that area. Go to the bank in that area, go to the grocery store, go to the coffee shop in that area. It'll give you a good gauge of what the area is like, right? What the traffic is like certain times a day, what the people are like, right? So
Yeah.
that was going to be one of the things. Determining their budget. Once again, we're always going to keep coming back to knowing your numbers, determining your budget, because sometimes when you're renting, you're literally just paying the price of your rent and utilities, versus when you purchase a home, you have to add in the cost of home ownership can be pricey
Yeah.
and things like that. And if you're a seller, you are needing to be thinking about selling your own home. So there's a whole different list of challenges right there, right? Where you're thinking
Yeah.
about, okay, how much do I want to sell my home for? Do I need to do repairs, renovations? Do I need to paint? When do I need to be out of this house to move into the new one? So yeah, those would probably be the most essential things clients should prepare for before working with me.
Mm. So, how do you tailor your approach differently when working with first-time home buyers versus experienced real estate investors?
While every client is different, I tailor my approach to every client. And I don't do it
Mm,
based
okay.
off of like whether a client is a new home buyer or an experienced investors, because sometimes I can meet investors who've purchased many a properties and they have no clue what the experience is like, and they don't know what they're doing, but they are an experienced investor. But then on the flip side of that, I've met some first time home buyers that have researched Google top to bottom, left to right, and they will get to
Yeah.
educate me. And I'll
Okay. Oh, okay.
asking all the right questions, and they know the process, and they've really done their due diligence. So what I typically do is I do check-ins with clients. I like to hold just a regular conversation just to see where they are. A lot of times just holding a basic conversation, getting to know one another. Those things are going to come up in conversation, and I can hear you using certain terms, and I can hear that you understand certain processes. So I'll know how much I need to give you, whether I need to hold your hand completely or whether I can just kind of like step in where it's needed, because you might already know what you're doing a little bit. So I just kind of try
Yeah.
to tailor my approach to the person. And sometimes when you're dealing with experienced investors, whew, that's a different beast. Sometimes they'll treat you like you're the valet, you know. do this, do this, and it's just like, okay,
Okay.
right, exactly that exact response.
Okay.
Because they know what they're doing. And so all they need you for is to jump in the spots where they need you to jump in at.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. So, what communication practices have you found most effective for building successful client relationships throughout the transaction process?
I think the most beneficial communication practice overall in real estate is listening. Like it's
Hmm.
listening's always going to be top tier. And
Yeah.
I try to put myself in my client's shoes, always putting myself in their shoes. All right, if you have money troubles, right? I need to think about that. I need to grasp my head around the fact that I'm listening to someone and I have to make sure I'm taking into account, okay, they've got anxiety because they have money issues right now, or they're deeply
Mm,
hurt because their mother passed and, and now we're looking for a new home and, or someone got divorced. So always listening, always with the empathetic ear, right? And you
mm,
want to make sure their biggest concerns. I always ask my clients what their major concerns are first, and I always want to address those concerns first as a way to try to build trust and let them know, okay, this is your issue, this is how I've dealt with it before, this is how we're going to handle yours. And so
mm,
really having a game plan a lot of times relaxes people and allows for that bond to get, built. And then you really just want to focus on delivering value and fostering
mhm.
trust and transparency. Like you really want to say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I can do, and then you actually deliver on it. And while keeping them informed in the process. So yeah, but active listening is that's gonna be the big one. That's my most effective way of building successful client relationships.
Yeah, I can imagine. If I want to buy a house now, I would really love someone that actually listens to what I want, listens to my, should I say problems?
No, no
It will
problem.
really help.
No problem.
Uh,
Just challenges, right?
yeah, chat. Yeah, perfect
I love
challenges.
the word challenge because to be challenged, that's how you get educated. That's how you get stretched.
True.
That's how you build endurance, right? Through
That's
challenges.
how you grow. Yeah.
Absolutely. One of my funniest things that I tell everybody is ever since I have been an agent, every single deal I get is a doozy. Every single one. It's always going to be like my deals are always something wild. Every single one, every single time. And I'm like, why do I get all the hard deals? Every deal I get is difficult. Every single one. Never just had a deal coast through. But the crazy part is all those challenges educate you the most, right?
Yeah.
Puts me in specific positions that I might not have been in until maybe 10, 15 years from now. Oh, okay, I found out what it was today.
Mm,
And the more you find out and the more you deal with, the more educated you become and the better agent you become. So, yeah.
okay. So speaking of challenges, what unique challenges arise when you're helping clients purchase multifamily properties, and how do you prepare them for property management responsibilities?
One of the things that happens when you're purchasing a multifamily property is passing the self-sufficiency test, right? And that
Mm,
self-sufficiency test when you're purchasing a multifamily specifically through FHA, and I'll just make that clarification. The property has to pass a self-sufficiency test, meaning that the rental income from the property must exceed the monthly mortgage payment. That's with principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, right? So the building's got to be able to stand on itself. A lot of times properties don't. So that is a challenge. And multifamilies
mm,
are priced higher, which means there's going to be a higher down payment, higher closing costs, which means your clients are going to have to bring a lot more money to the table. Also, complex tenant issues. My personal favorite. Sometimes you buy a property and it already has tenant challenges
yeah.
with it, or sometimes they can come later. The way I prepare my clients for property management is the second you come to me and we start talking, I say, hey, what type of property are you looking for? And they say, well, I want to be a landlord. I want to, I want a multi-unit property. I want tenants. The conversation we're going to have about the property first. And that conversation is going to be short. When we start talking
Mm,
about tenants, I'm going to give you every single scenario I can. As much time as we have, I'm going to give you scenarios, wild ones, to just make sure that you're ready to be a landlord. And we're going to talk a lot before I even take you shopping for a property. We are going to talk about what property management looks like, for an owner manager versus for, you hiring out a property management company. And I always like to give my clients a handful of resources, right? So I'll give them all the local, state, county, and city resources that they need, accounting resources that they might need, family support, short-term rental assistance, things that when clients find themselves in a bind, you as a landlord could have to kind of assist you
Mm.
with that. And, referral to a great eviction attorney just in case things don't go the
Yeah.
way they want them to go. But yeah, I try to make sure my clients are as adequately prepared for property management as they can be. And I absolutely I don't stop that conversation because they really need to understand that the second you're a landlord, it comes fast and it is responsibility. It's almost like when a
Mm.
baby comes. You own this property. There are people under your roof, and it is your responsibility to keep them safe and care for them. And you have responsibilities to them. And I need to really enforce that weight, right? Because not everybody takes it as seriously as others. Don't get me wrong, we all want to make a profit. There's always, the financial aspect of it, right? But when we're dealing with
Mm.
other humans, we just have to operate in a certain way. And I try to make sure that all my clients know they are prepared.
How do you help clients balance immediate cash flow versus long-term appreciation when evaluating investment opportunities?
Balancing immediate cash flow versus long-term, investment opportunities, that is very much a it depends question, right? I'd have to take into account a client's long and short-term financial goals, whether they're the
Mm-hmm.
type to buy a property and hold it, or if they're going to flip it, if they're going to sell it. It also depends on the stability and trajectory of the community that they're purchasing in. And once I had all of those variables, I would sit down with that client, give them all of their options, and see where they're most comfortable moving forward with.
Okay. So, last question. What advice would you give someone considering real estate as a profession? And what qualities separate successful agents from those who struggle in this industry?
I like that question. So, someone considering a real estate as a profession and the qualities that separate successful agents from those who struggle. For
Mm-hmm.
individuals considering real estate as a profession, I would strongly advise them to do their research and speak to at least a few experienced agents. This job is not what people think it is, right? Real
Mm-hmm.
estate school teaches you legal and it teaches you ethics. It doesn't teach you how to sell real estate. I remember my first day as a real estate agent. I showed this amazing couple a home, and at the end of the showing, they said they wanted to buy it. I ran out to my car to call my managing broker and I was screaming, Natalie Carpenter she was my managing broker. And I said, "Oh my God, Natalie, they want to buy a house for me. I'm so excited. Yay." And I'm like so happy. And then she says, "Congratulations. I'm so happy for you." And then my head kind of turned and a tear came down my eye and I started crying in that same sentence. And I said, "I don't know how to sell them a house." And the reason why that is funny, right? That's because real estate school did not teach me how to sell real estate. And so, so what everybody's just like, oh, it's this, it's that. It's very administrative, a lot of it. So yeah, there's that. And you have to consider what your life might look like as an agent. Because another
Mm-hmm.
common misconception is that agents set their own schedule. While we have a lot of flexibility in our schedules, our clients set our schedule, right? We need to be available when they need us. I would also say being an agent is a way to work on your own home ownership or investment goals. You get to connect with your city. You really get to assist clients in their real estate goals. You get to help
Yeah.
people start the beginning or, wherever they are in their investment journey and help people to build wealth. It's a rewarding job for sure. For new agents, or I think you said, what quality separates successful agents from those who struggle?
Yeah. Yeah.
Focusing on building strong relationships, mastering that local market knowledge, and continuously educating yourself to succeed in this field. We have laws and best practices that change daily. They're rapidly changing. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we get, people that aren't necessarily keeping up. And so we have agents doing the wrong thing that think they are doing the right thing, unfortunately. And so
Yeah.
that's why we have to ensure that we're always educating ourselves and prioritizing integrity. That is a big one. You are so actively involved in the lives of individuals, not just the person that you're selling the house to, but their immediate family, everybody that's going to live in it, right? So you really have to have some accountability. You have to have take integrity very seriously. You have to prioritize it. The agents in this field that are successful are typically very organized. They've got systems in
Mm-hmm.
place. They have stellar communication skills, and they have a certain level of adaptability, right? And
Yeah.
we also understand that market shifts happen in waves, and we're prepared for those waves adequately. And successful agents don't just sell homes. We're a crucial part of community building, right? We support local businesses, we attend community events, we show up, we're contributors. You know what I mean? So being an
Yeah.
agent is more than just selling homes. You become a critical part, you become a staple of these communities. You become a staple of your city. So, there are quite a few things to think about when you want to be an agent. Everybody a lot of times looks at the lifestyle of the traditional agent, and it's not that, it's not pretty. We're in dirty basements and moldy situations and falling off ladders and whatever. Like it's not
Oh
as
my God.
glamorous as social media might make it. It's not that. A lot of times it's dirty, and it's having hard conversations, and it really is a lot. It's a lot of hard work. So with that being said, that's what separates successful agents, those people that actually care to have those systems in place, and versus people that just don't, are just here for a quick buck. So those are definitely the people that struggle. If you're just here for the money, yeah, no, leave us alone. Leave us alone.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mara, for joining us today. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on another episode of the Business Exchange on Rolling Out. I just want to say until next time, keep building, keep connecting, and keep exchanging ideas that matters. Thank you, Mara.
Bye.